Hi and welcome everybody to my portfolio update. We should be live now. Use the comments if you want to say something, and in case something technically is not working, I'll use this session to give you an update for, I think it's more than a month already, what has happened with my portfolio. And yeah, this week I already had a deep dive session as well as a live stream for Xunlei as well as for ZEPP Health. And same this time, this will be available as a recording for those who cannot or do not want to participate in this live session. Anyways, let's start right on to it with the numbers. And what you can see here is basically my portfolio performance for 2021, so this year. And what you can see here is the red line is the S&P 500, which gained 25%. The black line is my entire portfolio, which is just roughly up, let's say 1% on the year now. And the green one is ARK Invest. The ARK Innovation ETF. I'm not sure which one of those funds. I've just included it now, but it strikes me like how similar we're trading this year so far. So despite my portfolio is much more China heavy, it seems like during 2021 lots of the ups and downs have been actually mostly correlating to the big tech rotation. It tells you a lot about this because of the S&P 500 making nice gains, right? It's up 25% on the year. So both Kathy Wood and I are currently underperforming the S&P 500, the big index. Yeah, but anyways, like if you look into a 1 year perspective, same chart, like the S&P 500, that's the red line, was up 30% over 1 year time. ARK Invest is up 40% over a 1 year period. And my portfolio is up 90% over the same time. So we have there some divergence between the ARK funds and my portfolio. Also, like the longer I zoom out, like I'm just more recently trading in sync with ARK Invest, I'd say. The more I zoom out, the more I kind of diverge from this performance there. And well, lots of it possibly has to do with my big position in Tesla. Actually is quite similar to the ARK funds, right? And then let me show you this chart, because that might be the topic of the session. That is Xunlei, starting from Q4 2020 going into this year. That's Q1, Q2, Q3. Here you can see the dots. I've been starting to buy Xunlei around $7, actually all the way up to $9. It's interesting to see. I can't remember I bought it so high, but I certainly did. That was the February peak, it seems. And all of those green little dots are buys. And I was buying the dip already back then, buying as low as like in the mid fives there, and then had another spike here. But as we know of today, that wasn't very sustainable, right? And I was trying to catch more of the dips there. Didn't do too much buying by the end of Q2. In the beginning of Q3, also just a couple of buys. But now you can see towards the mid of this quarter, I am starting to buying heavily. So all of those green dots, you cannot even recognize all of these individual buys anymore. So of course, each of those dots is buying several shares. So, well, just to give you a visual presentation or view on how I'm stretching my buys, that's what I'm always preaching on the channel and also in the in the forum that well, cost dollar average in if you are getting confident about a position, make the buys larger, but still keep dry powder all the way in order to have the option to double down on stuff in order to lower the average, right? And that's what I'm doing with Xunlei. As I mentioned in the very beginning, I was also in the FOMO spot there and kind of thinking like, oh man, I need to buy more before this goes up all of the way. That didn't happen clearly, but as we know now, that has been bubbly territory, not only for Xunlei, but for all of the Chinese stocks and also all of the technology stocks. So that was a bubble, clearly. We know it now. But as I've shown in my Xunlei walkthrough, I made this as an informed decision based on fundamentals, but I was not knowing a lot about the company at the point in time. So that's why it was a speculative trade in the beginning. But now, let's dive into my holdings here. So that's once again the overview of my positions, my entire portfolio updated, and I'm trying to fill in more information now, as you will see in a minute. But let me first give you like a more macro view on that. So as you can see clearly, we're now less than 20 positions here. So I have reduced that considerably. That was my strategy that I outlined the last time when I talked through my portfolio, and it's now getting less and less. I think at some point I may even arrive at only 15 stocks. I mean, of course, in the weight, you already see that some of these stocks are clearly more like bigger than other stocks, but certainly, it helps to focus on only a handful. But as I'm going to tell you, there is also a bigger strategy behind it. The reduction has also been made even further on the ETF side. So, well, maybe to give you this stat, last month when I did the portfolio review last time, I was at 81% in stocks. Now I'm at almost 83% in stocks. ETFs, I was back then in 1.15% in stocks, in ETFs, and now kept this similar. But I have already removed now the positions that I sold off the last time, I believe, when I showed it to you guys. Then my crypto position is now from 9.3% up to 11%. That is because crypto has been moving up. I have not actually buying more crypto. I'm owning a tiny amount in some leveraged Ethereum fund, but I have not been buying more Bitcoin and not been buying more Ethereum actually. So yeah, crypto did help me here to balance my portfolio, and it's doing quite well, I would say. And then on the warrants, options, certificate side, I've actually now less than before. Previously I was in 4.5% roughly. Now it's 4.1% in derivatives, like really risky stuff. Some of them long-term, some of them short-term trades. In this session I will give you a bit more specifics on that, because last time you asked what kind of options I'm trading. Usually I'm publishing them in the forum, of course, in the Dongxi community, but this time I can give you some more insight on that. Cash last time was up, so around 8%, and it was less than that before. But I mentioned last time also I feel ready to buy. I want to deploy more cash. And so, yes, I did actually spend more cash and reduce my cash position again. At the same time, I also reduced my leverage and margin position. So taking out less loans or credit here in order to buy new stuff. And I've actually reduced one big position, which has actually become the third largest position now. So that's a change here. Infineon, the German chip provider, is doing really well, possibly because of the chip shortage. And that one has been growing to 4.56% of my entire portfolio here, despite the fact that I was actually selling off some of it. So my long-term outlook here is still holding onto it, but I have reduced some during this time. There's one question, regarding whether or not this video will be available to watch later on. Yes, it will be. So just click this link again later on. That should be still be available as a recording. All right, let's go deeper a little bit in the positions. So NIO number 1, Tesla second, Infineon third, Xunlei fourth, Cloudflare fifth. I think Cloudflare also wasn't my number 5 back then, but it's been doing considerably well. So last month it was at $118 and it's now $128. So that's why it has also increased in the portfolio. But let's look a little bit more because, well, of course the weight in my portfolio is correlating with the share price, of course, right? If, for instance, here NIO has been going down. So last month when we did this review, it was at $42. Now it's only $38. That's also why the weight in the portfolio is now down significantly. At the same time, Tesla has been doing quite well, $677 up to 756, and so it's also going up in my portfolio weight. And so it's quite good actually to have this pair between NIO and Tesla here, I feel, because this is kind of giving me, with all the China fear and so on, and NIO has actually been one of the stocks doing really well even during the sell-off. Of course, we always have our stuff that I need to cover on the channel regarding NIO as well, but still, if you compare it with stocks like Tencent, with stocks like Huya and so on, I mean, NIO is doing really, really well still, despite being a Chinese stock. But anyways, having Tesla in the portfolio gives a nice counterweight here because, usually that's kind of a pair trade in a way. When investors in the US are frightened, they may move it just to the US and then Tesla comes to your mind. I mean, although I wouldn't say that NIO and Tesla are too much correlated there. There are some of the Tesla bulls out there are usually always like, why invest in NIO? It's not an American company. Let's have the US dollars come to Tesla instead. But I don't think that NIO is actually stealing too much of Tesla's share there. But that's just my idea. There's one question by Marcus. Is this invested value or current value of investment, the share of the portfolio? This is the current value, Marcus. As I mentioned before, I'm trying to expand this Excel sheet, make it more refined. Now that I'm just starting to give you like more regular updates, I see that it's not ideal in order to tell the whole story, but at the same time, and we also had this discussion in the forum, in the Dongxi community, that I'm not willing to kind of disclose the absolute terms for some reasons, and still I want to give you like the best idea of like how things are changing over time. And so I guess I might be able to do some stuff with this portfolio to give you more clues later on. But for now, let's discuss what I have with me today. So discussing NIO and Tesla, I think nothing to change here, except for now I'm also the values or my price targets here, I have now updated them here for NIO as well as just for NIO at this time, for the fair value. So what I would be confident holding NIO currently without saying that it's being overvalued. I would say currently, based on what we have, I would hold NIO for $40 to $150. And that's an update here. My initial price target was the $40 on the 5 years out business case. But now so much has happened, and also I made the updated business case and so on, and so I think we need to look more into the future as well. and also on the fundamental side. And so I thought I'll give a range here. So I think it should be at least worth $40. Anything below that is kind of undervalued in relation to where the market is pricing such companies. But I think the potential in the short-term future is now up to $150. If it's going below that, for example, similar to Futu, I would actually consider, trimming some stuff, but not necessarily with NIO though, actually, because here's my potential value, and that's once again deriving from my business case that I have walked you through as well. These are the minimum cases and the maximum cases on a 10-year out. Of course, that doesn't mean that this will manifest, but that is the inherent potential that I'm seeing in the stock. So watch my detailed walkthrough on the Patreon if you haven't watched it yet. But anyways, the numbers there are between $435 per share to 870. I know these are high numbers, and so don't take them for granted, as it's certainly going there. But I want to give you some perspective. First of all, why I am holding on NIO even through all the ups and downs, and also, what kind of potential I'm actually seeing in the stock still. All right. So for Tesla, notably, I haven't done the maths recently, so I don't have a potential value 10 years out. I mean, we know the ARK Invest case with the $3,000 price target. And I would say it has the potential to at least retest the all-time highs of this year. So that would be the 800 to 900 to $1,000 range. Maybe I can also add the range here. Let's put the 1,000. I know that, for instance, Gary Black or other Tesla bulls have price targets north of $1,000, and I can go with that. But I want to do my own business case and not entirely rely just on ARK Invest or Cathie Wood there. Then for Infineon, I don't have the numbers. Actually, this looks to be in the wrong spot here. That is actually Xinlei, and once again, I've done already the deep dive this week, but I mentioned in the deep dive that I think the fair price for Xinlei right now would be $18 based on all of the recent development, and even up to $40, but only if we see a kind of a comeback into a growth trend there. Previously, I had this only $40 as a fair value in here, so you can see I kind of have lowered my initial price target for the short term here. And then if you look at the very long term out, I know these are once again crazy numbers, but that's why I'm investing in this opportunity here and make it such a big position, because I do think that it's tackling a really large addressable market there. And that, once again, watch the deep dive in where I go more into the specifics. It doesn't mean that these numbers are going to be achieved. This is not, once again, as always, not investment advice or so on. But I see that this company has the theoretical potential to reach a stock price between $265 to $735, which I know is also a large range. Depends a lot on valuation metrics and future growth and stuff. But just to give you kind of an outlook here, that this is much more than a 10x possibly. Then for, I actually just see now that I didn't do the update here for ZEPP Health. Let me just think about this. Maybe I can do it live. Where is it? Because I actually had the walkthrough already this week. Right, so I mentioned this week the fair value that I'm currently seeing is around $22. $22. Previously, okay, so that one, the $60 was the previous price target that I had. So I'm kind of refining that one also down based on the metrics we had after I invested, and once again watch the deep dive there if you haven't. After I invested in ZEPP Health, lots of the metrics on the business fundamentals actually changed also to the worse. But still, I think $22 would be a fair value right now, and up to $60 for the shares. I wouldn't touch them right now. I would still hold onto them. And then ZEPP Health also has a fairly high upside actually here in the max cases. What was it? Just want to make sure that's correct. That's the conservative case. I'm not sure if this is the latest version here actually. Okay, I just take the maximum here for now. I need to check back this later, but I think I came to the conclusion it could be roughly up to $300 in a share price in the future. Let me give you an update on that one, also corresponding to James' question here. Will those spreadsheets be available? Yes, particularly the business cases of ZEPP Health as well as Xunlei. I'm refining them. I have still, for instance here, lots of these charts that I need to polish. I will make PowerPoint presentations out of them. Need to polish the numbers here, and then we'll make them available as a download for you guys, as well as I'm planning on making a post summarizing my portfolio once again here, and then also make that one possible to download so you can play around with this stuff. And although I'm not quite sure right now if this is the max potential value that I have identified last time, I just noticed that one I did not update here with the portfolio here. But anyways, tells you that also ZEPP Health, in my point of view, if everything unfolds with the investment thesis and so on, has a huge upside here. And so that's why I'm very bullish on the stock. In comparison to, for instance, let's say here, some of my investments like that's Tiger Up Fintech Holding, which once again, I resorted this Excel sheet, so maybe that's why everything is now in the wrong line here at this time. So the potential value for me in my napkin case right now, 5 years out this time, for Tiger is $50. So I'm still holding onto it. I think the fair value right now is around $20, but I would still be holding that one till $50. As you know, I sold out of my Futu position because I simply thought that it already had reached my potential value of 5 years out. And when I come to the conclusion that this has been reached, and at the same time I don't see much more upside in, let's say, the 10 years out, then I'm going to sell, which I rarely do actually. Okay, what else? So obviously let's look at what happened this month. So yes, I bought a lot of Xunlei, and that becomes clear because last month the price was at $3.60 and now it's $3.24 after this very rough day today, and still my portfolio percentage is up from 3.6% to 4.7%. But in my latest update, it was actually, like last time, it was the number 3 position in my portfolio. Now it's come down to number 4, simply because Infineon is doing really, really well. Now, what else? Basically, I only bought like 4 stocks during the last time which we spoke, and that is Xunlei, ZEPP, Baidu, and Meituan, basically. And I haven't bought too much on Baidu, to be honest. I'm becoming recently more confident on Baidu again, but I only have like my max 5 to 10 years out potential here of the $500 that I'm aiming at. I actually am looking to do my next business case on Baidu instead of after finishing Xinlei and ZEPP Health there. So expect maybe I find out that I'm not too confident about Baidu, but for me it looks right now that still, I only looked at the Q2 numbers and saw fairly briefly and so on, and everything looked for me to be quite all right, but there's it's a very complex business. There's lots of different things to model and lots of different markets to kind of research and stuff like that. But like on the technical side, it seems like Baidu finally has found a little bit of a bottom there. And so, although I've been calling a bottom a long time in Baidu, that makes me once again more confident to add again to this position. And then for ZEPP Health, I also added significantly actually during the last couple of weeks, but because of the stock price is down since last time, also the portfolio weight is down a little bit. Right. What I still have marked here are the companies like Intellia Therapeutics, Invitae, and Editas. So these are gene editing stocks. And I bought these during the COVID crisis, like the March sell-off. And they have been doing really well. I think most of these positions are up in the hundreds of % in my portfolio. Yeah, maybe that's a good idea. That's what I'm going to add next, like how much up I am on those positions. And but you know, the problem is here, those were kind of, in a way, they've been kind of lucky buys, doing really well, but I don't have the deepest know-how in the genomics space. So in case that we get a major stock correction, I would sell those stocks that I have like the least conviction. And it's actually interesting, but the conviction here seems also to be sorted not in the right spot, because it's noting that I'm having high conviction and high depth of knowledge, which is not the case for these stocks. So apologies, I need to update those metrics here. I only sorted the portfolio by the new weight, and it seems like this has kind of caused here some mayhem and chaos in this Excel sheet. Anyways, of course, I'm always posting also my buys and my sells, but in case that we go into through a correction, I would possibly reduce on that side. Maybe also micro strategy. I mentioned that one before, not because I'm not convinced in Bitcoin anymore, but I would rather hold actual Bitcoin instead of MicroStrategy then, and take the gains here on that one, because my issue with MicroStrategy is actually that I always have to pay the capital gains taxes there. So for me, it's more preferential actually holding it in Bitcoin, because after 1 year I can sell off Bitcoin positions in order don't have to pay any taxes. So that's the situation here in Germany. All right, I think these are the most notable things in my portfolio as far as I can see that. James, you said that I had stated $60 as a fair value for ZEPP, which is true. Yeah, that was my initial case, but I think in my deep dive just this week, I mentioned the $22 to $60 range, based on the new fundamentals in terms of the recent quarterly numbers that we've gotten. All right, then well, about the warrants and options, maybe that's something which I can dive into a little bit more deep this time. Maybe to give you a little bit of a context here. So I'm only 4% in options, and one of it is a very long-term NEO certificate, which I actually bought also around the time that NEO was trading very low. So I made very good gains on that one already and haven't sold it off yet. Then I have like my own Wikifolio, which is kind of my own fund in a way, in which I can also buy and sell without having to pay gains taxes. So that is quite handy. I was initially having the idea of I can set up my own Wikifolio that I can make investable for you guys, but seems like that is not possible because of some regulations and stuff. And so I'm working on a new way of possibly doing that. Maybe with eToro, but I will update you on that. And then other warrants, options, certificates, actually quite low number here. And that is usually in a way very much play money. So most of these things that you will now see are really tiny positions. And give you some overviews there. They're mostly around ZEPP Health, about Xinlei, some Apple, some Doi, some Huya. This one I don't even recall it when I bought it. And I don't know exactly even the company name, NEO, Tiger, and QSI. So that's QuantumScape. And then I also have short positions. That means I sold those calls, sorry, I sold those puts. So these are not, so I'm not owning those, I actually sold those. So for the long positions, well, what is my idea behind this? Well, some of it, as you can see, I made some of these buys during the February, no, actually going into this year, not February specifically, but like going, aiming for like end of the year, like September, December, what could be the share price of ZEPP Health, right? Now I made a mistake that I didn't sell off some of these calls that I had here during the February spike, because these have been up significantly. I was really in the money on most of them. And well, yeah, maybe zooming out a little bit more first, why I am buying such kind of calls usually it has to do with, with the bets that I'm making, like on NEO, on Tesla, and as well as on Xinlei and XNET. I'm really looking at fundamental revaluations of stocks. So from my experience, and that's why I'm doing this here again, is I was flanking my NEO and Tesla purchases with some of those similar options, as you can see right here. So for instance, I bought Tesla $400 call options expiring, I think, yeah, at different times, but last year and this year, and that was pre-split. So I don't even know what that would translate into now, but some of these call options went up like 8,000% in the ideal case. And so that really yeah, gave me really considerable gains in the end, and kind of was on top of my common stock holdings. And so I sometimes take those kind of risky bets, particularly very out of the money options. That was the same actually with NEO, was the same with Tesla. In most of those cases, these options expire worthless. But in case that the underlying thesis is actually working out, these can really print. And so I had an experience before that it was working. So far for ZEPP and XNET, I'm most likely going to lose most of these options. But anyways, for me, this is just tiny money in relation to my overall portfolio, still considerable in a way that these are 3 digits to 4 digit holdings still. So if that goes up, that can make really some life-changing gains there, that's for sure. So anyways, I think I'm not sure if I need to go into more specific of those. If you're aware, like of course, as higher the strike, the far less unlikely it gets that these calls end up in the money. But obviously I was going into this year, particularly for ZEPP Health, very bullish that this revaluation will happen during this year. I also mentioned before that I have kept on using options trading during the first quarter of this year, particularly to make some money. So these are not included in those trades right now. Those would be more similar to, well, no, I don't have any Futu or Tiger options, but for instance, with Tiger or Futu or with or Baidu, I was selling some call options and at the very high spikes, and so those expired worthless, but I was earning the premium. So that was another way of making some money with call options, but those are gone. They're not included here anymore. I have more some speculative trades here in Doi and Huya, which now, in hindsight, we know that these calls have been too early. Most of them are likely to expire worthless, although luckily here also some long-term call options, so until 2023, they may be back in the money. Those might be some options to look into to double down actually in order to average the cost. But for Doi, the thing is I don't have an underlying investment thesis. As I mentioned before, I don't own the common stock. I don't have too much insight into it. So for me, I'm not very incentivized to kind of play with them even more. So I may end up lucky with some of these, but most likely won't be. Then, for instance, the Apple puts that you see here, these are some of the hedges that I also talked about. And by the way, usually on all of these positions that you see here, I'm holding like multiple calls of them or puts. And yeah, the Apple hedge is in a way betting on this diverge between US markets, Chinese markets, but also in general, Apple is one of the biggest driver of the indexes, like the big US indices. Indices. So at some point, I think there will be a correction between 10%, maybe even more, and trying to time that in a way of, in case those corrections happen, that I can earn some money with these puts. But so far, I've always been too early. So these puts here will expire worthless with the 136 put tomorrow, but for October maybe that's another bet that might work if the markets decline further. Here's one more question. So you're planning to keep CRISPR as a genomics stock? Good point. I'm not too sure actually. That's actually in the same situation like the others. I'm not sure why the first time I made this Excel, why I actually kept it as a hold here. I also have to say I have not too much insight into into this specific stock as well. It was a super lucky call, and I think I'm up 200% on this call, on this stock. But I've been, reading and learning quite a bit about CRISPR as a technology. I know more that this company is more dedicated, of course, as the name already is saying, to this gene editing one. I'm not 100% sure on the actual strategies of Invitae, on Intellia, and also Editas. Back then, I was kind of forming a basket of those 4 stocks, investing into genomics. Meanwhile, I also sold off my ARK Invest Genomics. Maybe that would be a good call if I sell off some of them. I might actually transfer some money back into ARK Investor because they can manage my money better than I do. And at the same time, I'm always looking also to find China opportunities in this area. I actually found some as well, but it's too early to talk about it, and I also don't have the stock that I found actually has some issues, so I'm not talking about it yet. So my biggest bet in that area would be currently Baidu, as they're doing also some stuff in the area of using algorithms for drug discovery, and also algorithms for also calculating stuff around genomic editing and stuff like that. So I need to go more deep into that, but Baidu is certainly a little bit exposed to this area. And there are, frankly, also other options out there in this area in China, but needs more research from my side. Here's another question: Do you intend to increase the percentage of ZEPP and Xunlei positions? Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, I just mentioned that in my ZEPP deep dive, that I haven't bought as much ZEPP Health recently before the new Q2 numbers came out. But now I've crunched the numbers, I have this business case update, and I'm getting once again more comfortable with actually adding to my position. My cost is around $11, if I recall that correctly. But I think you will likely see me buying more of that in the future. And of course, if you look at this portfolio, maybe that's a good point to talk about. ZEPP Health as well as Xunlei are kind of my new two biggest bets, if you will, in this portfolio, right? I mean, with all of the other stocks, I basically, not all of them, but most of the other stocks, I had already significant gains. Usually, almost all of them more than 100% in gains. Some of them even up to close to 1000%. So, Xunlei and ZEPP Health are those stocks where I'm kind of under the water right now and accumulating. Of course, they are tiny in a portfolio, but if those big potentials are playing out, then Xunlei or ZEPP Health may become a double-digit percentage in my portfolio, right? That's the idea behind it. So I've been buying lots of Xunlei recently, as I've shown here in the intro. As you can see in here, lots of buys, right? Particularly around below $4 going there, all the way down, lots of buys. For ZEPP Health, I haven't been too active yet, but since our last portfolio update, yes, I've been buying quite a bit of ZEPP Health. And looking forward, I think I will rather buy now more of ZEPP Health in the next coming weeks and stay a bit more silent on my buys on Xunlei, simply because Xunlei is now a considerable sized position. I would need Xunlei to go down to, let's say, $2.50 or so on before I want to really buy a huge chunk again. So maybe Xunlei, rather looking for some options play to kind of sideline or flank the common stock portfolio there in this regard. Yeah, so back to the options, as I mentioned before, maybe once again, that's a bit of the context. So I might not be this typical options trader who's looking to, I don't know, I don't even know what an options trader really is in terms of what their strategies are. So I guess some options trader even use options in terms of, not spending too much cash and going long even NEO and have a strike of, let's say, $35 and 23 expiry. So really kind of conservative, happy to pay a high premium. I'm not that guy. I'm looking for low premium, and I'm looking at those lotto tickets in a way that can ideally make 400% to thousands of percent in gains. And so that's why it's tiny amounts, each of them. but in the end, yeah, those who are winning and winning big time, they pay for everything else in the end, right? And yeah, that's most of my options trading. Then for short positions, like selling puts, that's usually kind of trying to get away into a company that I would be confident or happy to buy at a certain price. So in case that the stock is not going up in the meantime and the option is kind of close to expiring worthless, and I kind of collect a premium. If that's not the case, I'm, for instance, happy to buy Xunlei at $2.50, right? So yeah, that's the idea behind that. Cool. Yeah, that's basically it for now. As you can see, I would define my portfolio as very, very risky. That's for once with the big China allocation. That's for once because it has huge positions. Like you know, in a less risky portfolio, you won't see positions with more than 10% each. I've got 2 positions more than 20% each. In NIO's case, even more than 30%. I have a very tiny cash position. I have 10% of crypto, more than 10% of crypto. This is not what I would recommend for somebody who wants to sleep at night every time really well and is not having an in-depth understanding of those stocks. For me, it's working really well so far. But you know, in case things turn sour, I think I could also handle it. But this is not, you know, this is not something which I would recommend my grandma to do, or somebody who's really old, who needs the money in, let's say, 5 years' time. I could recover some losses there. And I also would say I have a deep knowledge of most of those stocks. And I'm also not a guy selling out very soon. So you see me rarely selling, even with, you know, for Xunlei, I've been down minus 50%. For NIO, I've been also down minus 50% at some point. For Tesla, I've been down minus 50% at some point. I never sold those stocks unless I see that, well, my conviction is fading. That's kind of the way I'm dealing with it. So yeah, I hope you find this insightful. Certainly trying and working on making this spreadsheet also better. And as always, I'm trying to be as transparent as I can. I'm posting every buy and sell in the Dongxi community as soon as I make them. So just in time. Sometimes maybe, well, days like today can be really in a rush. So sometimes I may forget something in between, but yeah, you can trust me that most of this is as accurate as can be. Although you saw today, I also had some errors here in this sheet, so there might be some discrepancies there. I cannot guarantee that, but I mean, once again, this is not financial advice. I'm just trying to show you what I do, and hopefully you can learn something from that. And I also saw today in the forum that not everyone is blindly following my trades, and that's exactly how it should be. I might be an inspiration for some ideas, and then you need to kind of manage your own risk in a way. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next videos. I've got interesting stuff to share about NIO. Personally, I'm feeling very bullish right now about NIO, to be honest. And Xunlei will kind of keep me awake. ZEPP Health, new plans about speaking with investor relations again as well, and expect more content on the Baidu side. Oh yeah, and I forgot this, Meituan. I've actually also been buying quite a bit, even though I'm up significantly on that trade as well. But I used that one because I thought there is a discrepancy between the market perception of how much they're going to be hit on the bottom line actually by those crackdowns. I think Meituan will turn out as one of the winners here. So that was kind of a tactical trade. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next time.